HMRC released statistics this week for the tax gap for the 2022/23 tax year, which increased to a whopping £39.8 billion, 60% of which is supposedly caused by small businesses. My name is Jack Reeves and welcome to this week's episode of Tax Tidbits, where it has been announced that small businesses are accountable for £24.1 billion of unpaid taxes, which attributed to 60% of last year's tax gap. In comparison, medium and large-sized businesses each accounted for 11% of the gap. The gap is caused by unpaid corporation tax, income tax and VAT. The largest contributor to the tax gap was taxpayer mistakes and carelessness, which amounted to £17.8 billion. This could be due to a number of factors such as the complexity of the tax system or poor HMRC customer service. On the other hand, tax evasion and avoidance made up £7.3 billion. The Bank of England has held the interest rate at 5.25% for the 7th consecutive month, despite the inflation rate falling to its target 2% ahead of the decision last week. The Bank of England said the election timing did not affect their decision and that they were focused on keeping inflation at 2% in a sustainable fashion. It was a slightly split decision though, with the vote ending at 7-2 in favour of maintaining the rate, with the two others voting to reduce the rate by 0.25%. Though this is not the first time the vote has been split in this way. As you may have heard, Universal are currently planning to open a new theme park in the UK in Kempston Hardwick near Bedford. Well, this week Universal have confirmed that they plan on opening the park for 365 days a year if it goes ahead, and a new report has been published that reveals some of the predictive benefits that could come from opening the park. The construction alone would create 20,000 jobs and an additional 8,000 once opened. It is expected to contribute nearly £50 billion to the UK economy, with a net contribution of £35.1 billion during construction and in the first 20 years of opening, and an additional £14.1 billion in additional tax returns in the same period. So while the project has not been given the complete go-ahead yet, the numbers are certainly looking promising. In May, government borrowing hit £15 billion, the highest figure since the COVID pandemic, up by £800 million compared to this time last year. The rise in borrowing is caused by the government spending more than it earned from taxes, causing them to borrow more money to bridge the gap. Additionally, as the Bank of England has raised interest rates over the last year, the government also has to pay more interest on this debt. In May, the interest payments on the debt alone made up £8 billion. However, the figures were actually £600 million less than the Office for Budget Responsibility had predicted, which is a small win, I suppose. A company based in Oxfordshire called Everati are converting classic cars such as old Land Rovers and Porsches to electric engines to make them more sustainable and compliant with the new low emission zones in many cities across the UK. They replaced the old petrol engines with batteries, in turn creating a sustainable vehicle using less CO2 than it takes to make a new car. Though this service is extremely pricey, one of their conversions costs £330,000 to the customer, which does not include the price of the car itself. There is a market for it. It does make you wonder what the future is for upgrading petrol or diesel vehicles for an eco-friendly alternative instead of buying from new. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Tax Tidbits. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our other updates. And see you next week.